Fuck yes. Oh, hi there. Why am I sitting here in a house robe instead of doing my usual thing on the couch? Well, I'm currently editing the video that you're about to see right now, and I felt I should give you a warning. You see, the review you're about to see is going to feature a very, very angry Connor, to the point that I now have to drink to help my suffering. In this video, I have not had the chance to drink yet, so I'm not as calm as I am now. So I get very, very angry and say a lot of colorful words. If that's not your forte, I recommend turning off the video now. But just a warning, I do swear quite a bit, so here we go. Hello and welcome to Connor Reviews, and today we are going to be talking about Flow. Now, when I started this themed month, the That Game Company month, I partly started it because of what I had heard about some of the games. Journey I had heard absolutely amazing things about, and I was so glad that that the comments were proven correct, and that Journey is arguably one of my favorite games of all time now. An absolute masterpiece, the creme de la creme of gaming. And I'd also heard a bit about Flower, and now while I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of Flower, I can completely understand why people liked it and reviewed it as high as they did. I don't think anyone is wrong in giving it a high review, and I just gave it a 3 out of 5. Get it. I'd also heard about Flower being a spiritual successor to another game they had created called Flow. But the thing about it is I had heard absolutely nothing about Flow except for that one fact, that Flower was the spiritual successor to Flow. Which made me wonder. I wonder how it was. So I looked up some reviews before giving the game a try, and
that's pretty good.
They weren't as good as some of the other games like Journey or other games like Flower, but they had still pretty good high reviews that most games would be proud to have. So I thought, well, with all these game reviews, and with this game company's great philosophy that so far they've nailed on the head every single time, it's not about the features in the game, it's about the emotion the game makes you feel. And they have nailed that every time of being able to play with your emotions. Surely, at least I'm going to have an entertaining game, and there's no way it could be bad. Oh, boy was I wrong! Get comfortable, folks, because we're going to be ripping Flow a new asshole today! Now, let's talk about what this piece of shit game is. Well, this piece of shit game, you play as a little cell, a microscopic cell, inside the water. Where as this little cell, you must try and eat other cells to become a bigger cell, while also avoiding being eaten by ginormous cells. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wow, that actually sounds like a lot of fun. I really want to try something like this out. I can't see it being bad, and you know what? I agree with you. It is actually a lot of fun. The way that you get to see yourself in this and to be constantly frightened of being a little cell swimming around and having this ginormous cell come past you and try and eat you, it's horrifying, while also finding little cells to also try and eat to become bigger and eventually working your way up the food chain to become that big cell. It's an awesome idea and plays wonderfully. And not just that, but the way it looks, my God, it is one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen. You actually feel like this is what water looks like on a microscopic level, seeing all these weird looking life forms that are all vastly different from each other and unique, adding something new to each thing. Nothing feels like anything we've ever seen before. It's truly a wonderful idea, and I recommend you buy it. It's called Spore. That's the game I'm talking about. This piece of shit is nothing like that. It's trying to be like that, but fails miserably. You see, this game is a shitty version of the first level of fucking Spore. Instead of having all this amazingly colorful wildlife and different things to look at, you get to look at one of the most generic backgrounds ever, this fucking blue background, where all these little cell creatures, instead of being vastly different like things you've never seen before, are these tiny little blue circles that look the same. All of them. Some of the big scary ones supposed to intimidate you just looks like a bunch of them combined together. You're like, oh wow, that looks literally like me but bigger. Whereas in at least Spore, it was like, oh wow, that is genuinely huge and terrifying and I don't want to get anywhere near that thing. Or, oh my god, that looks huge and cute. There's variety. Not in this game. Not a fucking bit of variety. Oh, and before anyone makes me out to be the idiot going, well, you know that Spore came out after Cell, after Flow, so it's not like they ripped them off. And I agree, there is no way that Flow went and ripped off Spore. But what I'm thinking actually is Spore was made because of a game like Flow. I argue that I think the people of Spore actually went and played Flow. And they played it and they went, wow, this game is a fucking piece of shit. Let's actually make a game that isn't boring as fuck. And they did, and it was Spore, and it's actually quite a good game and at least entertaining. But Connor, you say, it's still at least a fun idea. You can't just hate a game just because a game like Spore came out and did it way better. You are correct. I can't just hate it for that reason alone. I can hate it for other reasons, like the controls. Now, so far, the last 3 games that I have reviewed that are by that game company have all been made exclusively for Sony Entertainment, specifically the PlayStation 3, although it is available on PlayStation 4, and I highly recommend that you try out Flower and Journey on the PlayStation 4, because my god, that would look absolutely stunning. Don't buy this game, though. One of the things with them designing all these games is tilt control, which has played a role in all 3 of these games, which is one of the big Sony features that isn't really used necessarily in a lot of games. Now, in Journey, tilt control played a role in more or less moving the camera, not really a super big feature, which is fine. It was nice to use once in a while. Flower did use tilt control a little bit more, and as much as I don't like tilt control, and I don't think most people do, it worked with Flower. Wasn't necessarily my favorite part of it, but I understand why they would use that for a game like Flower, and it kind of worked with it. It took you a few tries to kind of get used to, but once you got the hang of it, it was pretty easy. And then, once again, there's the failed piece of shit called Flow, with its fucking tilt control. Dear fucking God. This is the first game they ever made for Sony. The first game they would have actually ever had to program tilt control in. And it shows! This game, here are the buttons that you get to use. You get to use any button on the PlayStation remote to make your little cell speed up. Now I'm thinking, okay, now you use the probably control sticks to move your guy around. Ha! Ha! No, that would be retarded, apparently. So instead you have to literally move the remote itself to actually get your character to move around. The control sticks do pretty much nothing. They're there for fingering your own asshole if you want to. That's about it. And I'm thinking, oh, well, moving the control, that can't be too bad, right? Yeah, it shouldn't be too bad, but it absolutely is. Sometimes when you go to move the remote, your character will move. Sometimes he just will sit there and do nothing. Other times he'll have an epileptic seizure and constantly move nonstop and you can't get him to move the direction you want to go. How hard is it to use the freaking control sticks? And clearly, that game company agrees with me on this, because this, as I said, was the first game they made. Following that was the spiritual sequel to this piece of shit, which should just be an actual better game that has nothing to do with this piece of shit, called Flower. And they decided, okay, let's pull back on how much we use tilt control, because dear God, this thing is awful. And then when they finally hit Journey, I'm actually convinced they didn't know what the control sticks were. And when the Journey came along, some guy's like, hey, you guys know what these are? I don't know, I just use it for fingering my own ass. Well, they're controls. We can actually use it to actually move our guy around. It's like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. We can use that and just have a little bit of tilt control if somebody wants to use it to move the camera, but otherwise we'll just use the control sticks. Holy shit, that's a brilliant idea! Now, let's move back into the philosophy of that game company. Again, I've said it once, I wanted to make it very clear so everyone has an understanding. That game company's philosophy is not to make games based on certain features and big shiny things. It's about playing with your emotions, the way that they can just play with your emotions and make you feel different things. Are any of their games hard? Not even close. But they're kept very easy to be able to flow with your emotions. And I can say without a doubt, Flower and Journey were very good at being able to play with your emotions. As much as I didn't like Flower, it still managed to play with my emotions and put fear into me and just get with me on a deeper level, which I did love and I appreciate that. But not Flow! While Journey and Flow were relatively easy, this game, dear God, it is the easiest freaking game on the planet. There is literally no challenge. If a baby was born right now and you handed it to him, no, if you actually went and found your friend who just got in a car crash and is now a vegetable for the rest of his life and all he can do is blink his eyes, and you gave him this game to actually play, he'd have an easy time doing it and think, wow, this is a ridiculously easy game. Yes, it is. The only part of this game that is actually challenging is the bugged tilt control, because it's impossible to actually work the bugged tilt control. Which honestly, now it kind of makes sense why they added tilt control, because they knew the game was too easy that anyone could play it. Literally anyone. Your dog who's licking his own asshole right now could easily play and destroy this game. They think, whoa, if we added harder tilt control that's really bugged and doesn't work at all, maybe people will think the game's actually challenging, when it's not. But Connor, part of the reason that game company makes their games as easy as they do is so that they can put and make them as short as they do, is to put as much time and effort as possible into creating some of the most beautiful environments you have ever seen in gaming. You can't argue with that, Connor, now can you? Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, other me. You see, that's the thing about Journey that you are correct on. Journey by far has got some of the most amazing looking graphics for its time, because they can put so much time and effort on making some absolutely beautiful backgrounds. Again, with both games that I have played, I have been constantly in love with the backgrounds. The way that they make them so engaging, it pulls you into the game, making it easier for them to play with your emotions. So clearly, a game like Flow, where you can actually play as inside water itself, and seeing what they were able to do with basic sand, and what they were able to do with playing as a flower petal. Surely, being able to be inside the microscopic levels of water, they must be able to create some beautiful things. So here, let's show you, the audience member, what their beautiful graphics look like. Show us the beautiful environments they have made for this game. See, what's funny about that is that was a man taking a shit, and that actually had more effort put in than the background did for, and the environment did for Flow. Because they at least had to make sure the house looked nice, they had to pick the right towels and make sure everyone was wearing some proper clothes. This one, you want to know what the environment looks like? Blue. That's it. What does the water look like on a microscopic level? It's blue, with your little fucking cells running around. No creativeness about the cells, not that they actually look like real cells, they're just little white circles on a blue background. But oh wait, here comes the big one. When you get deeper into the water background goes from blue to darker blue, and eventually black.
Oh my God!
Wow, that must have been really fucking hard for you guys to program. You already have literally one of the most simplest games of all time that a handicapped child who is actually part monkey could probably figure out how to play this game right away. So that all the extra effort and time you can put all your effort into making this beautiful background you instead use to make a blue and black background. Wow. Oh my God, we have hit the pinnacle of achievements in games. No Man's Sky makes 18 quintillion planets? Pfft, that doesn't matter. Flow made a blue background. Your move, bitches. Microphone drop. Fuck off. Seriously, it drives me nuts knowing that a game company that can create such amazing looking backgrounds cheaped out and just made a blue and blue and black background. Oh my, it just irritates me on such a level. You know why? Because have you ever actually seen water on a microscopic level? It's amazing. It's like a whole new world that we have never experienced before. In fact, I'm going to show you 30 seconds of a video where it is actually what water looks like on a microscopic level. I don't own the rights to this video, so if the company comes and gets angry at me, I genuinely don't own it. I will give the link in the description down below to this channel, because they're actually a very interesting channel. But I want you to have an idea of what that game company had to work with, what they could have done with such an interesting idea of being on a microscopic level. Here we go.
These may look like aliens from another world, but they are actually the tiny life forms teeming in a single drop of pond water. The incredible close-ups were captured by Peter Matulovic from Ohio, USA, using a technique called high-definition microscopy. This brownish gloop, for instance, is in fact a tiny flatworm. You can see its two primitive eyes at the front of its body as it swims.
My God, absolutely amazing. It's so wonderful, the different things that we can see with the power of science. Just amazing to think that there's such a little world in just a tiny drop of water. And what does Flo do? Well, everyone buckle your seats here. We got footage here of what Flo looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, the beauty, amazing that is Flo! Blue. Just this generic fucking blue. Oh my God, it drives me nuts. That game company, again, I'll say it again, a praise. They can make some absolutely amazing things, and they just grabbed a huge opportunity to make something golden, and they just fucking shit it away. Threw it on the ground and went, whatever, we'll just make a fucking blue background. What? What are you guys doing? Even Spore, as goofy as it does look in comparison to games today and other games that game company has done, it at least took advantage of it. And we're talking about EA, by the way. EA company, one of the cheapest fuckers on the planet, loves to cut corners. They looked at this and go, okay, this is a really cool opportunity. We should really get what it feels like to be on a microscopic level like that. And they took advantage of it. Go look up Spore footage right now. It actually looks kind of similar to what it is like to be actually underwater. And I appreciate an opportunity like that. So this game has absolutely no story. The game has one of the worst control systems I have ever seen. The game is incredibly boring, and the backgrounds, while okay looking, when comparing to the other games that look like the Mona Lisa, this game looks like somebody took a shit on a fucking canvas and declared it to be his magnum opus. It is so bad looking in comparison to the beautiful gems that they have created. Does this game sound interesting to you at all? Great. Go play Spore. It is an actual fantastic game. Goofy looking graphics, but still a whole lot of fun you could really experience. This game, Flo, is just absolutely terrible. It is the ugly stepchild of the That Game Company family. I feel like they need to just go on a nice family trip, drive out to the middle of nowhere, pull over and ask their son Flo, son, the trunk seems to be popped open. Do you mind going back there and just closing the trunk? Yeah, Dad, I'll go do that. Goes back there and when he goes to close it, drive away as fast as possible and pretend that Flo was never part of your family because it is a piece of garbage. For shame, That Game Company. For fucking shame. I'm giving this game a 1 out of 5. So what did you think of Flo? Do you think that I was way too harsh on this game? Do you hate, too, when people call Flower the spiritual successor to this flaming piece of shit? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments section down below, and I'll see you next time.
Oh.